there is anybody that wants to sign in for public comment, there's also a sign-in sheet for that. We are only taking people off the sign-in list. I do not want people shouting out from the audience. That's been happening and it is disrespectful to whoever has the floor. So I'm asking people to honor that. First of all, happy spring. It's a beautiful day. I'm sure we all have better places to be, but it is spring and it's nice to have this weather, isn't it, VR?
Yes, it is.
The other thing I want to do is thank Don Sala. I thought I saw him in here for covering for me last month. Did a great job, better than I do. And so thank you very much. I really very much appreciated it. And I also, where's Alma? Alma Hartnett, stand up. I want to thank Alma. She several months ago was concerned about information and wanting more. The more we give, the more we're asked to give. But she has since volunteered to help me with the board meetings because I don't think anybody realizes just how much work. I don't think Alma realized how much work it is to prepare for these. So she has been helping me. She's been helping me get the information onto the website so that I can't get it all because sometimes it comes in last minute, but I can get most of it on for everyone to see. And the solar project information is on our website. It's been on there for, I think, over a month. So anybody who's interested in the information can go there and look at it. So if I talk fast, it's because I'm nervous about getting everything in that we need to get done in the time we have. The first thing on our agenda, and I wrote 6:35 because that's my normal thought, is 4:35. Is the scheduling of the public hearing. Is the public hearing for the local law to amend our code, which already has the firefighter and ambulance service exemption, but to amend it to update it to the provisions that have just been recently passed by the state of New York for giving a 10% tax break to or assessment. Well, yeah, tax break to people that are firefighters and ambulance servers in our community. Tim, before we get going on that, is there anything you need to, or we need to say? And
I think we kind of went through the bill, the local law at the last meeting and explained what it was for and who would be eligible for it and how it's different than the previous local law that really capped it at $3,000. The exemption. So this one would be 10%.
no cap.
No cap.
And our law is going to allow people that have 2 years of service in to be eligible for the exemption. There's also spousal provisions that allow for a spouse of a deceased firefighter, when it's different, but whether they're died in the active duty or whether it's passed away after a certain period of time. And then you're also eligible to continue to get the exemption. So I don't know if anybody signed up for that.
One person did. You want to?
But we need to make a motion to open the
Waive the reading of public hearing.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading of the
public
The notice.
hearing notice.
notice.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Then I would make a motion to open the public hearing on the firefighter ambulance service exemption.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Public hearing is now open.
Deb Grenier.
Deb Grenier, you'd come up so we can,
Oh, that's for the public hearing?
Yeah.
yes, on the firefighter exemption.
Okay.
Oh,
I thought it
okay.
was just a second.
Okay. So anything, I don't want to belabor this with, if there's anyone online that wants to. No, we should recognize that Ann Christmas is joining us. Diane.
Hi, everyone.
Nothing there? I'm tempted to make a motion to close the public hearing unless somebody thinks we should wait a couple minutes.
Make a motion to close public hearing. Second.
Seconded by Bill. All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Okay, that means We need to. I would make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the new resolution for the firefighter ambulance exemption.
So you have a local law in front of you and Diane's making a motion to approve the local law as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay.
James already seconded it, Ann.
Sorry.
All those in favor? Aye. Ann?
Yes.
Okay, opposed? That motion is carried, so that local law.
All right. So
Okay.
can somebody else make a motion?
Oh, no,
To
what?
designate me to keep the minutes because our clerk is not here. And she tried to get a deputy clerk to come tonight and then the clerk from the planning board to take the minutes for tonight.
And I
But
apologize.
nobody can make it, so I am going to take the resolution or the motions and then she'll kind of fill them in after.
Yes,
with the
that
minutes.
was the understanding. I'm sorry.
That's my fault.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that
Designate me to keep the minutes in terms of the
tonight,
motion.
Of the motions and that Nikki will fill everything in from the video recording as she normally does.
I'll second
Okay, seconded it. I take it there's no discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Tim, you are gonna keep up to the. Okay. Let's move on to Jim's accountant's report. Everybody should have in their packet of information, the one-page summary of our months. Yeah, the one that you can't, it's.
In the month of February, we collected the remainder of our property taxes, so we're whole there. In terms of other fees, we collected almost $1,700 in clerk fees. The bank account continues to earn a substantial rate of interest. Funds in the NICLAS account brought in just over $6,250. So anticipate this to go up over the rest of the year. We're going to transfer some excess funds into that in the next week or so. Some significant invoices were paid last month, including trash collection and the fire protection districts. But overall, we're in pretty good shape. With the board packets, you should see a budget author or budget modification to transfer $20,000 from the central garage equipment line item, which is for the increase in cost attributable to the roof replacement project. It's offset by ARPA funds. So you'll see a budget increase to the ARPA fund line and an increase to the garage roof replacement line.
I would make a motion that we approve the transfer of the money as indicated on everybody had the budget transfer information on the sheet, yeah. And Bill seconded it. Any discussion?
So this is a budget transfer
Correct.
as the fourth.
Yeah, and when we get to highway,
you want to see a copy of it? Do you want to see a copy of this?
all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The transfer is, motion is carried.
After that transfer, there's about $660,000 left in the ARPA. It just back so.
Okay. Bank reconciliations. Has everybody looked at Nikki's tax collector and clerk? Clerk? Are they still? Reconciliations should be up here. It works. Everybody signed.
Oh, yeah. I got Paris. Around.
Diana, you had them.
Yep. To the back table, three spaces.
Oh, they're in the.
There they go.
Okay. So we have 3 signatures on here that which is sufficient to make a motion to approve the clerk and the tax collector's bank reconciliations for February.
I'll make a motion. That we accept it.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Bank reconciliation.
Big for the clerk and the tax. Sure. So I guess I'll take the lead on the clerk's report because she's not here. She does have, I don't know if you got a copy of this emailed to them for minutes from the February 14th board meeting. So has everybody looked at them? And are you, I reviewed the video recording. So Tim, I don't know if I'm allowed to vote on them or not, because I wasn't
What?
here. The minutes from the last meeting.
Minutes From last month's meeting.
Yeah, if you're confident,
I
you're.
reviewed it all
Saw it and confident.
and
that
I
you think that-
revised a couple things on here. So,
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
have them, okay.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye, opposed? That motion is carried, so we've approved the minutes. Are we ready to pay the bills yet? Okay. We are?
I think so.
Yeah, okay, I think we have 3 signatures, so. I would make a motion for payment of bills as per the abstract that Nikki is now responsible for producing. And I think we've got 3 signatures, so
Yeah.
I made a motion. A second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Yeah. So there's several community events that that are on Nikki's report here. One is, and don't shoot the messenger, okay? Just the messenger. There is going to be an open house for Pivot Energy, who is apparently going to propose a revised project on Sweet Road on March 30th, 2023, between 5 and 8 p.m. At Heritage Hill. And also don't shoot Heritage Hill for allowing them to do that, which I'm understanding there's been some people reaching out critical of that. There is a project website. It's concluded in the agenda. You can go there and see what they're proposing to do. It's a similar project, but revamped. So the next thing is, I put a poster down here. There's one on the front door. There'll be a lot of advertising and promotion of this, but we are doing an Earth Day event on Saturday, April 22nd. There's several.
What's our open house?
Plus the open house with
For
the
the highway
highway,
department.
that's on there too.
Yep.
Sorry. So that's gonna be from 9 to noon here at the town facilities. There's gonna be the ability to bring paperwork, thread, scrap metal to get rid of, tires to get rid of, and is there any limitation on tires?
They gotta be 20-inch or less.
Okay.
No rims.
There will be seedlings that are going to be given out by the Environmental Conservation Commission. There's gonna be a food truck. What am I missing?
We'll have electronics too, actually.
Oh, there's gonna be an e-waste disposal.
Oh, that's cool.
Computers, TVs, monitors, things that we have no place to get rid of
Yeah.
for the most part. So. But as I said, there will be posters around. We have several tables that are gonna come to, that are to set up with information on things like,
And junk metal. don't forget.
I said, is that scrap? Yeah,
And that's the right to do.
Is it free
It's
for the
not-
electronics or you gotta pay?
no, everything is
Everything is free.
free except the food truck.
Right.
But it's Kristen Hickey's food truck, for those of you who know her, know that food truck, which is coffees and coffees is what I really know her for, because she used to be down at Tog. She ran the coffee kiosk at Toggenburg. But she's local. She lives on SD Road, so it'd be nice to support a local food truck at that event. So in any event, we'll probably bring it up again at next board meeting, but just to mention it. And then, as luck would have it, the Pompey Hill Cemetery Association decided to have their cleanup the same day as the Earth Day event. So that is taking place the same day, Saturday, from around 10 o'clock. I'm not exactly sure. We're trying to coordinate so that people can do both if you so choose, but maybe come and drop off first and then go help them. That cemetery is badly in need of a cleanup. So they've chosen to do it on April 22nd. Okay, I think that was all the announcements. VR, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So I'm looking for board approval on a couple of things. On New York State Highway Law, the department requires the town board and the highway superintendent to determine by agreement how certain money for highways repairs and improvements are to be used. So this will include 10 to 15 miles of chip sealing, which is the oil and stone that you see out there. And up to 2 miles of chip sealing, oil and stone with a keep seal over top, which we do in some of the developments. So the agreement for expenditure of highway monies. I'm looking for approval from the board.
And that just came in this afternoon, so you've got it in your folders, but you didn't really get it ahead of time. Yeah, that's what that is. It's like
For agreement that we ordered now.
we have to approve whatever it is that the highway is saying they're going to do this year.
Yeah.
Or work. So if you've had a chance, have you had a chance to look at it? Nope.
But it's all in the budget things. right?
Yes, it's reflected in the budget, and attached to it are proposals from different vendors for the projects that are going to be covered. So Soup Code is in here, and Midland and Soup Code, basically, yeah, Midland and Soup Code. So the total that's going to be spent is
That was the 284. Well, 285.
25.
The total for those quotes were 268, 360.
Okay. So we're asking for a little bit more, hoping that we won't really need it, but a cushion.
Well, we have a little bit more through chips, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Okay.
we'll actually be under that, which is not a big deal for all that money over, so.
Okay. You good? Yeah. Okay. Anybody want to make a motion? Or-
I'll make a motion, we accept the
Approve
agreement
them, yeah.
expenditure for highway ones.
And we all need to sign it. No,
Yeah.
one copy. So
Here. I signed the bottom of that.
this is
I'll
second. All those in favor? Aye. And
Aye.
opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, number 2 is, I'd like to hire Joe Dahl to come in and replace that center roof on our highway building. That is original, and it's got to be 52, 53 years old. And it's leaking pretty bad. We tried this last year. They get extremely busy, so I'd like to get on it early. The only problem was, that's why they transferred the money. Last year's bid was 188. This year's bid has gone up considerably to 204, 800, so. We set this up with that. They are county
This is
contract.
county.
County contract. We did an RFP. We got no answers from it last year.
Last year you tried to put it out and we didn't get it.
Sutter County contractor, Joselle's the contractor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Our current roof is sealed.
Yes, and that's gonna be done in steel again. That's just the center section. The outsides are obviously a lot more. But I'm looking for board approval to get this in the, get them scheduled as soon as I can.
I would make that, we authorize the highway superintendent to, do whatever is necessary to get on the Josel roofing schedule for replacement of our main building highway garage roof.
At a cost of what?
Well, it's at a cost of
204,800.
204,800.
Yep.
To authorize me to sign whatever is necessary to effectuate an agreement with them.
Second.
Bill seconds it. Any discussion? Not a small number, but we have no. It's gotta be done. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
The only other thing I had today that you brought my attention to,
Oh, yeah,
after a year and a half of being on the job and advertising for mechanic, we actually finally found one. So that's gonna save us a lot from sending these trucks to the repair shop.
Good. Thanks, PR. Okay, so now, nothing much on the codes, office other than to report that, other than a February 2023 report, which you all have, there's no action to be taken. It's just, I don't think anybody's here from codes. So just so you know, we're trying very hard to put information on our website on a regular basis. The one thing I have been reluctant to do is the codes report because it has names of people and addresses, and I think that should be private. So if we get a report from the codes office that just tells us how many permits were issued, how many certificates of occupancy or completion, how many stop work orders, cease and desist, or whatever, we will post that, but we will not be posting the specifics as to each individual property and name and address and all that. Tim, I had you on here, but I'm not sure. Okay. Okay. Swim program. In watching the board meeting last month, I realized that there was some confusion because you didn't have the most recent info that and that Ann was supposed to be part of the discussion, but she couldn't get on the Zoom. Some electrical issues. So anyway, but since then, it's been pretty clear that we've boiled down to two options. One is the Jamesville Beach county property, county park, and the other is the Tully Lake swim program. The Jamesville DeWitt Middle School pool is not an option. The town of DeWitt uses it for their swim program, and they also have other events that the school uses in the summer. So that eliminated that. We have no indoor place to offer swim lessons. So the Cas pool was ideal for that. That might come back, who knows? It depends on what happens in the future with that athletic facility. To me, that's probably the best thing they got as far as like an asset. That facility is really nice. So that said, the town did do a survey on our Facebook page of who would be interested in swim lessons at Tully Lake and who would be interested in swim lessons at Jamesville Beach. And we got about just under 70 responses. So a pretty good number for a survey like that. It was very much split. There was no like obvious like winner, if you will, or choice. And there were about 9 or 10 people that didn't want either because they want their kids to learn in a pool. They don't want to do the lake thing. And that's fine. So in looking at that and talking to each board member individually about the cost of the cost of the town that the town would incur to run the program at Jamesville Beach, because that would be our program. It would, we have budgeted just under $35,000 for that program. It's expensive to the town. And we offer it to our neighbors. But Lafayette and Fabius are not participating. Obviously, we don't have it, but they've already committed to participate in the Tully program. So we don't have their revenue coming in like we've had in the past. So the overall loss to the town is significant if we ran the program at Jamesville Beach, not knowing how many people are interested in having their kids learn to swim in the lake or the reservoir, if you will, and also with the green algae problem. Or is it green algae? Yeah. Which they have at Jamesville Reservoir. So all of the board members that I have polled recognize that there's a big financial risk if we go with Jamesville Beach. So we have the Tully Lake program for this year. It's not ideal because we're limited to no more than 50 kids that can participate. We don't have a good answer for the swim program right now. If Kaz Pool comes back, I would strongly advocate for us to go back there, but it's not an option. And of the two options, and not knowing how many families would sign up for either option, we're taking the road that will cost us significantly less, because at most we will pay $100 a child to participate in the Tully program, and that is a total of $5,000 versus the $35,000 that we would expend to have a program for which we don't know how many will participate.
Right.
Go ahead. I was to say,
We were also time constrained. We had to make a decision.
Tully asked us to have a decision made by the end of February. So we had because they needed to plan, they needed to have more swim instructors. So I have gotten some information back from them on their program. And I will share it with the board once we have just missed each other's connections, talking to the Parks and Rec person in Tully. But so that's the story with the swim program. I just wanted to give an update. If I've said anything, did I say anything that was wrong or that misstates it?
But not that I'll say, there would have been, it wouldn't have cost quite that much money because there would not have been the cost for the pool and the facility rental. However, it would have been definitely much more expensive than the Tully one. Both programs are in a lake, so you're not, it isn't like you have an advantage over one or the other. And, when you're looking at that, and if we did only get 50 kids, it would have cost the same amount. It would have cost more. So it made perfect sense to do the Tully one. And that way there it will be free for up to the 50 kids. That will be fully covered for the Tully one. And we have no idea how many people will sign up considering it's a lake. So at least there's still some swim lessons, and we'll hope that something happens good with the Casanova pool. Maybe we can get a deal back with that for another year.
Some people in the survey also said they didn't want to drive to Jamesville Beach.
Yeah, there was
split.
Yeah, there was some
very
that said they would only choose Tully, and some said they would only choose Jamesville.
Some said they do both.
Some said both.
Some said neither.
Some said neither. So what would really happen when you put it out? We'll find that out once we put it out there, and I'll be disappointed. Well, I'll be glad that I hope we get full 50, but I'll be disappointed if we end up.
We can't.
I'm gonna feel sad if that happens, but I'm more under the hunch that it's probably gonna be in that probably 50, 60 range. That's just my guess.
And I have floated the idea that if Lafayette and or Fabius don't use all of their slots, that if we had extras, that we could take advantage of them. But Tully is going to offer it to their people first. They're guaranteeing us 50 slots. The rider, I know you asked about it last board meeting, but the rider is not an option. I've talked to Fabius, I've talked to Melanie Velarde. It's just not an option. The docks are out there. There's weeds down there in that area. So it's not conducive to a swim program.
And the Lafayette and the Tully ones, this is just Pompey kids. So them ones there have their own separate. So where before when we've had like, some kids that included, or I think it was that included the other towns, right? Or was it George?
No, I'll tell you honestly, last year we had 242 kids in the program. 142 of them were Pompey kids. So it's really a huge cut. And no one, I speak for everyone. No one is happy about this. We did not close Cass College, but we are the victim of that closure and there's not much we can do but try and do the best we can and also be financially responsible to taxpayers here. So that said, unless there's anything else, I'm going to move on. We're making good time, so there's going to be plenty of time, hopefully, for people that are on the list. Just an announcement that and thank you, John Shaheen, if you're listening, one of our planning board members has been very instrumental in a lot of clean energy work around town facilities. And as a result of us participating in a clean energy community program last year where I think you had to have 5 people sign up for like geothermal types of HVAC heating. We got another $5,000 grant from NYSERDA. So we are going to put it towards, wish Nikki was here because she'd be very happy. The windows on this side of the building, it's interesting because that's the west side, so I'm sure there's a reason. But the windows on that side are badly in need of being replaced. So that's probably going to be what eats up most of that, if not all of that money and then some. So I just made that announcement because I want to actually give John credit for he's been working very hard on that. Next item on my new business list is you just heard Jim talk about how much money we have from the stimulus program, the federal stimulus program. We got almost $40,000. And we've been using little bits of it to offset things like the increased costs due to inflation that we didn't anticipate when we budgeted for this. Because it really needs to be used for sort of one-off type of projects. It can't be used for a continuing expense because the money will be gone. But we have to decide how to use the money by the end of 2024. And we did do a second round of Main Street beautification applications for 6 businesses here in Pompey. And unfortunately, this round, we did not get the money. They had a third of the money that they had last round. They do it every 2 years. So we won't have another opportunity until 2025. So that said, I saw in the newspaper, if anybody else saw it, that the town of Salina has started their own Main Street beautification program to provide the same sort of opportunity for businesses in their town that the county has done through the county's Main Street program. And they're the same 75% from the town, 25% matched by the company, the business. And it's storefronts. They're looking to improve the storefronts of businesses to attract more business to the area. Pompey is very unique in that we don't really have a main street. We've been very creative in advocating that we do, and that worked the first time, but with limited funds, it didn't work as well the second time. So I would very much like this board, and we're not ready yet, and I want a volunteer, maybe Bill, to help me to look at whether or not we can do a program that would allow us to use not all of, but some of our, because this is where Salina is getting the money, some of our stimulus money to put towards economic development in the town. So before that would even ever happen, and it's like fortuitous that you're all here, I know, for the solar, but I'm also, I would like to know what the public thinks about using that stimulus money for that reason, because it wouldn't be applicable to everyone, obviously. And I do think that the community needs to benefit from the use of that stimulus money. So that said, I would like us to look at that at least, see what Salina did, how they set it up. We'd need to have some standards in place, practical policies, how we would, what criteria we would use to judge a business, for instance, suitable. But I just want to throw that out there because I feel very badly that we did not get money the second time. Yes, you may.
Because I just wanted to make a couple clarifications.
Yes.
So, if I explained,
Oh, did you talk?
yeah, well, I've talked to, I know what they're proposing in Salina. Nothing is completed in Salina.
Oh,
They want to do this. It still requires COVID related tie-in. So it can't be used for just general economic development purposes. There has to be some standards set forth for tourism. That's one of the criteria. And they're going to, they've identified one area of the town from the city line to the village of Liverpool, which of course overlooks on a lake, and many of those businesses are tourist related type businesses. So that's kind of the hook they're using for that. Also affordable housing as another criteria that COVID has that the federal government has identified as an area that you can use COVID related money for. And the third is obviously infrastructure and public infrastructure. So those are the general, I don't want. You have to make some argument as to the businesses and the impacts on COVID on those businesses and why the money would be available. For
I
that.
still think we should look into.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying not to look into it. I'm happy to work with you and Bill is the person
Bill, would you-
to come up with potential standards to do that.
You said tourism infrastructure. What was the third one?
Affordable housing.
What was the first one you said?
Tourism type of businesses.
Okay,
All right.
so I sent everyone a Syracuse.com article, so just, okay, so, that needs to be continued. It might not fly, but it was certainly food for thought when I read it, and after we had just found out we weren't getting any, of the round two money. So, thank you, Bill,
That's,
not to put you on the spot.
that stuff will, you know, I mean, I'll say on it that I want to see stuff that benefits as much of the town as possible the time we do it or whatever we do. And I want to make sure we keep having as much of it as possible to use for, you know, if we need, there's something else that happens with the highway or anything like that, we want to make sure we keep it sound there so that, you know, obviously by the end of 2024, we got to figure it out.
Well, and and we should, but I don't like the idea, and this is me, and I'm not saying everybody else, of just continuing to like whittle away at it. I feel like it's been great because it's allowed us to
Equipment.
to get meet infrastructure needs that we otherwise would have not been able to meet without raising taxes. So it's been a boon there, but I get it, and I know what you're saying. So we'll see, and nothing's gonna be done without it coming before the board and the public will have a chance to weigh in. And in fact, I've been wanting to form a committee. I feel like all I do these days is form committees, but I would love to form a committee on the use of the stimulus money and include the public, the community, and how that would best be done. Because it should benefit everyone as much as we can. So if you're interested, let us know. Okay. Did you have a chance, Tim, to look at that travel policy? Okay. I thought of another provision today as I was paying bills, so. But, board members, did you get a chance to look at the draft of, so it came to my attention numerous times since I've taken office that the town is supposed to have a travel policy, or we're not supposed to send anybody to anything or to pay for anything. And that has not been the case, but the town has never had a travel policy. So finally found some time on an airplane to draft one. So I drafted a travel policy that I sent to Tim to vet out legally, and it's comprehensive. It's maybe too comprehensive. I don't know. I wanted to make sure we covered everything. The one thing I didn't think of is that I'd like to put a provision, add a provision in there that if you sign up as a town official to go to a training and then and we pay for your registration and you don't attend, then you reimburse the town. And that's not in there, but it should be. But other than that, does anyone have any feedback? Do you want some time to, we can bring this up next month? It was more meant for a discussion today than it was if we were ready to pass to vote on. If you're ready to vote on it. that's-
Well, I read through it all and it all makes sense. It's pretty standard with a lot of organizations as far as what is allowed to be reimbursed and what's not. And how to go about it. So,
No out-of-state travel, period. In-state travel, only if you submit a request for it with a budget to the board. And the board approves it, if it's overnight. If it's just in-state, travel to a day long, that does not require board approval. Lodging,
Not if within 90 months.
not if you're within 90 miles of the town. It's felt like we could drive back and forth. I don't know if that seems too far or not. An hour and a half, maybe on the highway. Yeah, and we'll follow the federal per diem rates and meal rates and mileage rates and receipts. You must have a receipt or you don't get reimbursed. And then there's some provisions on using town vehicles to get there, so it's mostly relating to the highway versus using your own vehicle, which would relate to most of the rest of the town.
They got to be
Staff.
approved or you ahead of time and you get reimbursed.
Yeah, and there is a per diem that you could apply for ahead of time, which Nikki was here again, because it would put them, I thought, Jim, I don't know if you wanted to weigh in on this, on her for someone to apply for a per diem from her, and then she would have to probably coordinate with you. I have that in here somewhere that it would be the town clerk, it's on the second page, the first section under petty cash. That it would be administered by the town clerk in conjunction with the town accountant to provide up to the expense reimbursement amount per day toward out-of-pocket expenses that have been approved. So there would be a way for people to be fronted the money so they didn't have to take it out of pocket. Might be, might prohibit some people from going to something because they can't afford to pay for it up front, but and if that is the case, then receipts have to be absolutely provided, and if you didn't spend it all, you got to return what you didn't spend.
And most things I've done, you always have to spend the money first, then get reimbursed.
I was used to working for government, and government will front you the money.
Wow.
Worked for government my whole life, and that's how they do it, but they have a process. They don't just give you the money and then you don't have to give it back if you didn't spend it. You have to prove that you spent it, and then, but it is another burden. So I don't know how you feel about that. So, you want to think about it? You ready to, I would like to add that one provision.
Yeah.
Going on next month.
Yeah,
I did draft something if you want me to read it to you, but if you want to look at it next month.
well, let's,
I'm
Well,
gonna
next
take
month.
this as a draft and send it to you right now, Renee, so you see the language.
okay.
You want to put that one? I think that's wise to have in there.
Yeah, I have a little sticky, so I'll add it. Then last on my list is apparently when we appointed Ed Drexler, reappointed him to the Board of Assessment Review in our organizational meeting in January. That doesn't jive with what the county thinks should have been our appointments. So just to be safe, I would propose that we make sure that we have the board members for the Board of Assessment Review that they think should have been appointed in January, reappointed, because the Board of Assessment Review meets in May, and I don't want there to be any like technical challenge because somebody wants to say they weren't properly appointed. So the two that are at issue are Terry Stearns and Dale Barber. Now, I could have, I mean, when we appointed Ed, we checked the records and I could have sworn it was Ed, but records aren't clear. So just to make sure that they're considered appointed. And Tim, I don't even know how to do that because they're supposed to serve 5-year terms. So I don't want 3 of them on the same 5-year term. Did I give you that? Did I give you that in? It should like the last.
What do we happen to do different than what we did?
So in January, we reappointed Ed Drexler to a 5-year term.
Oh, to a 5-year term?
Pretty sure it's a 5-year, maybe not, maybe it wasn't. It was Ed.
Begin 10.
But the county's records don't jive with ours. And the thing I don't want to have happen is that we hit May and we don't have the right people. We don't have
What county? Board of Assessment review? Why?
Office of Real Property Taxes.
Yeah, why does the county? care about it?
Because they require training. I don't know. Quite honestly, this was given to me this afternoon. And I went and looked up who we appointed in January and it was Ed Drexler. But they're now saying that it's, if you look, well, Dale Barber's term, we don't have to worry about Dale because his term ends on September 30th. So he will be, he's actually good through the assessment review process. It's more Terry Stearns because they have his term ending September 30th of last year. The rest of them are all after the fact. And my biggest concern is to make sure that we have all 5 of them properly.
So what's
This
this?
just says right to update or correct. Yeah. We just like update and not have an actual appointment date as right now, just update the information. It says.
But I don't know, I mean, they're showing, I mean, we can put this off to next month and we'll look at it because it'll still be before the May board meeting or bar meeting, but I don't want, I certainly want to address it because
What's the training requirement? When is that?
they all have to be somehow trained in I think it's the month of April. But
But there's different years for the training, last training. So how often do they have to get retrained?
good question. 2 of them have recently got trained last year. The other 2 got trained the year before.
The only one,
Terry is the only one that hasn't been trained since 2018, or so the county says.
is that the problem? Maybe?
No, because they have his term already expired. I mean, they could do a 4-person. They could have a 4-person board meet. That would be a quorum, if we didn't reappoint, but I'm just bringing it up because I don't know what we're supposed to do as far as their records don't jive with ours. And they want us to.
I don't. We're the ones that appoint these.
I know.
The county doesn't, so our record should be the
ones that,
records that. Let me call the county tomorrow and see what their issue is, but I don't.
As I say, it says right on here, right to update or correct, and just, when was the appointment.
well, all I'm saying is, I don't know because we thought Ed was the one that was up. So,
Renee, I just went on the meeting minutes. Ed was on the minutes in January of 22, and that's when you appointed Ed Drexler to a term last year.
Oh, what about this year?
This term's 5 years.
5-year term. Let me see.
I thought I did the 2023. Anyway. Pretty sure I looked at 2023.
Anyway, I think we need to.
January, we appointed Terry Stearns.
It's January.
Okay,
So this just has to be updated with
Yeah,
Carrie's.
they haven't even, yeah, this is, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ann. Moving on. Sorry, folks. I don't, they must not. Okay, so now we're up to, we should have 45 minutes for public comment.
You forgot one thing on your list,
Oh, what did I forget?
acceptance of 2022 AUD.
Oh, no,
Updated.
I'm sorry, that came off the list because you guys did that last month.
Okay,
I didn't, I did a brand new agenda right before the meeting, which I didn't get to you, sorry.
Nope.
Okay,
Sign up.
because there are, I don't know how many names on that list, I want to make sure everybody, that it's fair. So 3 to 5 minutes, okay? Is that fair? Everyone?
So we use, that's what our standard is.
Yes, and just so. Just know, we just, yeah. So who's first on that list?
So first is Linda Wallner.
I'm Linda Wellner. I live at 69.
Because you survived talk to us.
Yes.
So it's better right here. Thank you.
My name is Linda Wellner. I live at 6955 Frank Road. I'm here about the Frank Long Solar Project. I've reviewed all of their materials and our master plan. I understand that Pompey's master plan suggests encouraging solar projects where possible. However, I believe a project of this enormity, solar project, is inherently industrial in nature and doesn't belong in residential or rural neighborhoods. I am actually a proponent of solar, but I just believe that something this large should be put in places where the other industry exists and where people don't live. Our master plan also mandates that the protection of Pompey's rural aesthetic and natural resources. This project would be adverse to the goal of protecting our rural appearance, forests, and wetlands. Our own DEC declared that this project would impact forest connectivity, habitat availability, and carbon sequestration. And also mentioned an impact to the wetlands. I believe Mr. Lefay, I don't know if that's pronouncing your name properly, had mentioned that even if this project were to put a retention basin for the water, that it could, because of the steep location, it would be difficult to put it in the correct place to capture stormwater. The neighborhood already suffers from flooding. I think partially.
We can't hear all those noise back there.
Sorry, I'll be later.
Kim,
Not here.
Do you have a mic at least? Yeah, mic.
Yeah, we need a microphone. So I think everybody in the room needs to hear what she's saying.
maybe she's.
Linda. Stood there. Speak.
Kim.
Is that a microphone?
That makes it project out, but you stand there.
All right.
Yeah,
let's stop it. Talk a little louder.
Do you need to?
I do.
Right now?
Yeah, well, either that or I sit here and stay.
Well, we're in the middle of a meeting and people can't hear.
Meeting that's not supposed to be occurring now.
That's not true.
No, that's.
Okay, the project would also impact negatively property values by destroying rural.
Most just speak up a little bit.
Okay.
Kim, please, I'm asking you not to.
Stop.
Okay. Sorry.
Frank
What
Long
I can do.
is home to some of the most beautiful views across farmland and hillsides, as is Sevier Road. And I would argue that it's counterproductive for our town to encourage the destruction of these views. You know,
Debbie, you know better.
so I mentioned, I think I was interrupted in the middle of the water problem that Frank Long already has, which I think this project would exacerbate. The project also describes using existing trees along Frank Long to block the view of the solar panels. The existing trees, which are across from my driveway, are deciduous trees. And so there aren't any evergreens. I don't think that it would be a very good boundary. In addition, the ash, which are a lot of the trees in that forest, many are dying or infected with the emerald ash borer.
Like they almost, they don't want to.
Yeah, I know.
I don't.
The project also describes creating a tree barrier on the upward side of the project. And nothing is stipulated about who's planting these trees, who will nurture them to adult size. And the number of years that would take for these to be large enough to block the view would probably be the extent of the project. So I'll stop there. Thank you. That other.
What was your last?
I sent a letter March 10th.
I forwarded everything that comes directly to me, unless it goes, you can send it to all board members. If you send it to me, I send it on to them because they all need to be aware.
Just for having done tests.
Thank you. I'm just going to take 1 second to thank Linda for her very comprehensive letter. There are at least 12 or 15 of us here that totally support her attitude towards the solar farm on Frank Long Road. We will probably submit the letter to everyone on the board. There are a few other things we're going to add, and I have direct questions for the developer, which I won't bother you with at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dentes.
J.R. Anthus.
Hi, J.R. Anthus. I live at 7110 Whitney Farm Lane. First, might be a little redundant, but I think it's important to note that all of us are interested in green. And I mentioned to Renee on the phone, I have 50 solar panels on my home and barn. Eleni Kosmas does as well. A number of other neighbors, Podcameters. Karen has wind and so on. So that's not the issue for a lot of us. It's the fact that we don't believe this belongs in our neighborhood for just about every reason. When we talk about this thing, we don't see any reason why it should be there, really. It's a beautiful neighborhood. Part of the reason we moved up there is our area, all high pine trees, gorgeous. We have covenants. It had to be 3,000 or above. You couldn't tear down X amount of trees. We enjoy all that. We wanted to live that way. People come over to our neighborhood, park their car and they walk it. And we want it to remain as close to that as it is right now.
I don't mean to interrupt. When you said 3,000 and above, what are you talking about?
Square feet of the
that's fine.
homes, you know,
I just wanted to be
everything
sure.
has to be a certain way. Let me see here. I wanted to mention also that online we have approaching 200 signatures in a petition. And then, excuse me. And then we also have a petition that we're passing in the neighborhood that we have a number of signatures. I can present those to you maybe at the next meeting or something after we get those as well. A couple problems we also had was Seaboard, when we met with them at the first meeting in the hallway, a couple of things that they mentioned that the trees were going to be 12 feet. Now we're hearing that actually when you look closer, they're going to be 7 feet. They also mentioned that the height of the panels are 10 feet, when in actuality, it looks like they're going to be from 12 to 15 feet. They also told us that you would not be able to see any of the panels, which makes no sense at all. If you're putting 7-foot trees in front of a 12-foot or 15-foot panel, you're going to see this whole park. And when I asked them how big was the area they were going to be clearing, they didn't have the answers. And then we pulled out the map out there The short end of this thing is gonna be 600 feet wide, 2 football fields, so think of the Carrier Dome. And the length of it, I couldn't get an actual thing, but when I measured it from their map, it looks like it's gonna be a half a mile long. And this is massive. And it just doesn't belong in a neighborhood. So I would just say be very careful as we go forward, make sure you get the proper information from them. There's also a number of websites, the EPA website that talks about what it could, the composite of the panels, what it could leach out lead, cadmium, which is harmful for health and environment. I'm just gonna bullet point because I don't want to take up other time. One other thing that we have concern about too is we already have antennas over there. And then if there is a here and they're looking at maybe another one on Fleet Road again, what is our town gonna look like if these things go? It'll look a lot different than it does now. When you think of Pompey now, you think of how beautiful it is out here. If these things, I don't know, I just, after that, what's next? You know, like self-storage, you know, what else are we gonna put out here? So anyway, I think I'll leave it at that for now, but thank you for your time.
Thank you, Vern.
Can I just 1 second? I hope everybody realizes we don't solicit these applications. They come to us. It is a process we have to go through to vet them out. So your being part of the process is very welcome. So I don't want to think that you're not welcome here. You're absolutely welcome. We want to hear from you, but it is a process and it has to play out. And I told you that, I told Jane that, I've told several of you who reached out to me. I am available. I am accessible just because because all of us are. So if, you know, feel free to reach out to us, you know, personally, individually, whatever. But I just want to emphasize, this is a process we have to go through. Okay? So, sorry.
Kate Burn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna speak for
Hey, Tom Burn.
I think you just recently emailed me.
Yeah, I just emailed you today. My name's Tom Byrne, and my wife and I bought a house, the original Whitney Farm, right up there at 7099 Frank Long. And I said in my email, time and again, I drive down the hill every day to work. And I'm a whitewater kayaker, so I'm always looking for how much rain, when it rains and floods, we go kayak. But anyway, sometimes you could almost kayak down that hill. There's so much water that goes down, the gullies clog. I know the town comes out, a lot of times you'll see them out there scraping out the gullies because the leaves all come down and clog and then it's out in the road and the stones are going down the road. And I mean, I just can't even fathom how they could even think about putting this big of a project. When you see the size of this thing, trying to jam that thing down on this hill, I mean, it's a beautiful area too on top of that, but and they talk about maybe adding retention ponds. They don't even show that yet. But even if you do, those are going to flood over and they're still going to flood down that hill and get a big rain event. And there's a lot more than I think that are documented. Like I said, I go down that thing all the time. It happens a lot. I mean, you know, not every day, you know, probably at least 4 or 5 times a year, I've seen that water racing down that hill. And you got all those houses down at the bottom there. But also, speaking of kayaking and stuff, I kayak Butternut Creek and I go down to Janesville Reservoir and all that. But, you know, what if like years from now, all the grease and oils off there's, one thing I found very interesting was they have gears that move these panels around and they've got oil and grease and stuff in those gears. If you start putting 12,000 panels up on that hill, there's no way we're not going to get some kind of industrial contamination. It's just a very beautiful rural area. And I think once you put that thing in there and they say it's just temporary, that thing's never going to come out again. And there's no guarantees from a liability standpoint. I mean, it'll just forever change the whole nature of that neighborhood. Hopefully respectfully deny this application.
Let us go through the process.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, was Tom speaking? He's all set?
Yes.
Okay, Barbara Spacer.
Well, I hate Barbara Stacer, 3457 Sweet Road, and I feel like I've stood in this spot so many times to talk about what's happening in the town when it relates to solar. And I'm really disheartened and honestly disgusted that I have to stand here again to talk about it. You mentioned that it's a process, it has to be vetted, but when our master plan is open to it, they're coming here. They're not going to places where they don't feel they have an opportunity. They don't want to fight that battle. They're coming here because they feel like it's wanted by our town board. And as much as we get up here and stand, it doesn't seem like the town board is really representing how the people feel. And there's much more people here.
No, you have to address the board.
Okay, there's much more people.
No, I understand that, but.
That were here previously. So, and I stated before the same concerns, what it has to do for the quality of life of the neighbors in the neighborhood, the standard of living that they will now have, the values of their property, who knows, again, the environmental. And when I stood here last time, I had the perspective of what I knew from my insurance background. And since standing here last time, I'm now chief insurance officer for a global company. So I have a lot of access to global information. And I've used my position, and of course I can't share the details because it's claims and it could be personal information. But some of the things that were noted as I started searching through not only the United States, but other countries that have this type of solar activity in their area, is that not only do they cause the permanent damage to the land by scraping off the topsoil, we're altering the topography, we're compacting the soil in a way that prevents infiltration of water into the soil, which we're already hearing there's an issue with that on Frank Long Road. In this underlying aquifers. So there's a number of things. These projects are dependent on so much. The upkeep of them. I don't know as much as I do about the Frank Long, and I will be learning more about it. But one of the things that we heard with Pivot before, and we'll probably hear again, these things aren't managed properly. They're out of state. The people aren't here. They're not able to see what's going on. I don't know about all of you, but you know, I live on the hill on Sweet Road. The wind is crazy. I brought it up last time, and I think it was laughed at when I said that there could be damage from wind, as if these things are almighty and so sturdy, but they're not. And there will be damage to people. There is a liability concern here. And I think that just the number of people in the town that are opposed to this, I can't believe we're standing in this position again. And to the point already made, this is two in less than a year that's going to be coming to this board. How many more and what's next? It's really disappointing when you look at what Pompey is known for. And it's sad if it's going to be known for solar farms.
Kathy Garofalo.
My name's Kathy Agrasto, Garofalo, 7160 Frank Long Road, the Agrasto family. I speak for all of us.
Go for it.
Well, first of all, living there my whole life, living in Pompey, this cute little town. It seems like we're going to destroy it with solar farms. I'm for solar too. I mean, I got solar in my band, but not here. And when we went through the housing development that wanted to go in at the top of that hill, we went through some of the same issues. The water, the people that live down on 91 for the runoff. We all have wells. I would like to see a moratorium in the town of Pompey put out there so that we can study it, because when you go to study these things, it's so new and they pushed it so far with our government and fast. There isn't anything to know what some of this damages, you know, that we're saying that could be going into the ground. They're made from monocrystalline silicon, polycrystalline silicon. It's way too big. There's health issues. Even the World Health Organization has said there's risk of electromagnetic hypersensitivity. Talk about other countries. Australia found that people who live near solar farms are more likely to experience headaches, dizziness, nausea, and this could be also an increased risk of cancer in people living near solar farms. Do we know this? I'm asking. Do we know this?
It's public comment.
Well, okay, well, I'm just saying, think about it.
And I'm not taking it lightly, believe me, when
No, no,
I say public comment, but
No,
I don't know if that was a rhetorical question or.
the other thing is, the state gives credit for these solar panels and things. Who gets that credit? Does the town of Pompey get the credit? Or does this company from Connecticut get the credit? I don't know. Cutting the trees.
the trees and the land that eats CO2. So you take away the actual green that takes the CO2 away, and you're gonna put up solar, and they're saying that we have a heat wave on our earth, and you're gonna put massive solar panels down so we can all burn up with them, we get heat. It just doesn't make sense. And the wildlife. You live on Frank Long Road, you love the scenery, the mountains, the trees, all the wildlife. It's there's an impact to the wildlife. I happen to like wildlife, and I don't want it to be killed by the solar. And also, it's done. Okay. No, are you almost done? I don't want to cut you off if you are. You call them solar farms, they're not farms. Farms produce hay, food. I would prefer to see this land taken, farmed, since we're having shortages of food. We see all these food plants being burned up and shortages. I'd rather see someone purchase the land than plant on it. And also, I read Nautilus Solar is buying a lot of Seaboard's projects. Do we know? And another question to ask them is, will this be sold once you get approval? Nautilus is the company. You can look it up on the internet. Thank you. Thanks, Kathy.
Jane and Nate can't come in there.
You're gonna speak in concert?
No, separately.
You called you both up together.
Jane Kaminer, Kinder Lane. First of all, I want to thank the town board because I know a lot goes into this and you're listening to us mostly complain. And I appreciate listening to us and hopefully you're approaching this all with a very logical and rational mind when you analyze what's being done here. Unfortunately, the very nature of things that are so wonderful about Pompey make it a target for these projects because they're being given so much incentives by the government to come in and develop these things. And they're doing it as a business. It's a profit. They're doing it for a profit. They're not doing it to benefit our community. It's wonderful to feel good about solar. And I think everybody here probably feels wonderful that we should have renewable energies, whether it's solar or wind. But I think it's time for the town to step back and take a moratorium and reassess both the master plan and the solar plans, because these plans are going to keep coming. And the financial impact on the town, whether it be the resources of the people, the financial resources for the engineering, the legal, and all those aspects are going to drain the town of other things they can focus on if we don't have a comprehensive plan to look at this. I'd also like to talk a bit about the road. I've been here for 42 plus years. When we first moved up off of Franklin Road, it was a country farm road. It was a dirt road. And it does not have a foundation to handle the kind of traffic that the equipment would be necessary to bring in to develop this solar farm. It's been stoned and gravelled over the years and it's improved, but still it does not have the foundation to handle that kind of traffic. Who's going to pay to have that road repaired and rebuilt? Where's that money going to come from? What kind of tax subsidies or pilot payments are we going to get from this specific project that will cover those kind of expenses? What's our liability down the line? What's the town's liability to approve something like this to all those people down on 91 when their homes get flooded? You know, we addressed it. I saw people on Frank Long Road yesterday out cleaning out culverts on their own because they were blocked up. So I know a lot of these concerns will come up again and again. And I'm trying to talk to everybody on the board because I want to learn more about it. I want to understand it and I want to make a rational decision. And I hope you have the same approach. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jane.
Nate Kaminer. I live with Jane, 3966 Kinder Lane. Stole my thunder. I was gonna say we lived there for 42 years, but you already know that. I just I thank you very much for allowing us to speak here today. It's very important to me. I reached out to a few board members already, so I am also trying to talk and express our opinions. The comment I want to make today talks about just understanding benefit versus risk. And I think it's very important that the town needs to consider that on the big picture, because what is the benefit to the town? And when it's the benefit to the town, it's passed on to the residents, so that's very important. And again, what is the risk to the town? And that could be, in many cases, risk to the residents. And I just, benefits, we know we're gonna get, there's a pilot return, that's a pilot payment in lieu of taxes. And then I've heard numbers, 2,000, 3,000, whatever. It's a small amount of money that the town is going to receive. And when you start talking about a roof and it's $200,000, $2,000 or $3,000 doesn't go very far. So the amount of money we're going to get to the town from this venture of solar, that somebody's going to make a lot of money because that's the reason they're here, is going to be very, very little. Well, wouldn't it be great if it was community and Tim mentioned that, I think at the last meeting, it was a community project where there was a benefit to every resident in the town. For every single project, if solar is approved, if every resident in the town of Pompey, everyone got 20% off their electric bills, that would be a great benefit to the town and to the residents. An idea I thought. Risk is another thing. You compare the two, and 25 years is a long time for a project. I don't know where I know where I was 25 years ago. I'm anticipating where I'm going to be 25 years from now. It doesn't, that's a long time. A child born today now, and then you just look ahead 25 years. Well, that kid grew up, went to school, and then went off to college, maybe went into the armed services or something like that, then came home and then got married perhaps and started a family, and now they're 25 years old. All those things happened in 25 years. And we're going to have a solar project. And then in those 25 years, as we know, that life, there's a lot of variables, a lot of ups and downs and stumbles and all kinds of things, good things, bad things. 25 years is a long time. And risk, there's unknowns, there's time constraints, and there's things you don't have control of. Here's a project with the ownership where they tell you who the developer is, but we don't know over 25 years. Nobody's local, nobody's going to be here. Who's going to manage this? What? And there's just so much risk there in my mind that I just ask you to really consider this, because if there were an event 18 years from now, and all of a sudden there was some natural disaster, and we've seen these around the country for one thing or another, and all of a sudden the fire department had to respond to it. Well, who pays for that? And what if somebody were injured, God forbid, or something like that? All these things are all part of that risk, I think. All I'm really asking here is the town review these things, consider benefit and risk to the town and to the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate.
Ron Heffernan.
I'm Ron Heffernan. I'm not a public speaker or anything else. I live at 6938 Frank Long Road. I've got a plumbing company at my house as we speak because of the runoff. My basement is flooded. And I don't know what it's gonna cost me, but if you strip 30 acres of trees, it's gonna make it even worse. You talk about this Earth Day and they're gonna hand out seedlings. Well, that's great. Is it gonna replace the 40 acres of trees that you're taking down? Are they gonna hand out that many? And Renee, you said, well, we gotta go through all this. But 2 months ago, you said, I said, why Pomp? And you said, Pompey's gotta do its part. What did you mean by that? It was right out here in the hallway, Renee. And there was other people standing around. You said Pompey's got to do their part. I don't understand what you mean, Pompey's got to do their part. No comment.
This is public comment. This is not a question and answer.
So, I mean, I've got problems with water right now. And Nate and Jane talked about someone cleaning up the ditch. That was me. front of my house because I was hoping it would take care of the problem. But it didn't. I had to get a company in there today. Now, is the town gonna pay for a basement wall falling in, my well getting contaminated? I don't, I want some answers of who's gonna be responsible. And if, I mean, I know this, okay, it's only public comment. Think about that, please, because I've got problems right now. I don't need any more than that.
Where's your house in relation to the farm?
Right next door,
Oh, yeah, right on the line.
right on the line.
Okay. Thank you.
Rick Margino.
We going to.
My name is Rick Margino. I live at 3413 Hannonberry Road. About 23 acres on top of the hill. My backyard is Sweet Road. So my biggest question is, this got voted down 6 months ago. Why is this back on the table? Who called Pivot? Did Pivot call here, or did somebody call Pivot to come back here? I don't understand. Why is this back on the table? Want this in your backyard? Big industrial solar complex. Scariest thing you could see. I don't want it in my backyard. I don't think anybody here does either. So, was it cancer, contamination, radiation, fire? It's terrible. Pompey's the most beautiful place in central New York. The hills, the views, the peace and quiet. Most people here have acreage. And most people want the peace and quiet. You build a huge industrial solar complex, the construction, the damage to the natural environment, the habitat, the animals. It'd be terrible for everybody. And this shouldn't be going on. There's no process. They contact them because they get big payouts from the state and the government. It's a big scam. It has to stop. There's no process at all. Should be shut down on day one. As soon as the application is shut down, there shouldn't be any type of process at all.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Constitution of the United States, but there's due process, notice and opportunity, so I.
This is not the Pompey. This is not the Pompey. Nobody wants this in their backyard.
It is a process, Mr.
Put
Margino.
it next to your house? All right.
I get argumentative.
Yeah.
Stan Gorman.
As an ECC member, we're giving away 500 trees. Stan Gorman, I live on 7154 Sevier Road. I also, with my wife, own and operate the Pompey Club on 7200 Hamilton. Just a couple of things. I was one of the Main Street grant applicants that didn't, so anything you guys looking at, I would love to be a part of. Understand. Maybe we can reopen our pool or something like that. It's not two problems with one.
You just put it indoors.
Whatever, I'm up for anything. Again, here about 30 years ago and fell in love with this town. That's over there. Sorry, I got emotional. It's, do anything for this town. And I have my heart in this town and am concerned about it. I think everybody on this board knows, anybody that knows me out here knows, that's where I'm kind of coming from when I do all of this. I was part of with the solar law and helping initiate the current law. I have some concerns that I'll express. I've been dealing with the towers. That is my fault because they've been in my backyard, but that was a project that was started in 1964. Wish that we had the foresight that we have now for those. And we see some maybe process to decommission. My concerns, obviously I'll be able to see the Frank Long Road from my back window. I'm up on Sevier, right up on the hill. I know we have view shed concerns. Runoff concerns. I guess my main concern though is what it's always been. What's in it for the town? We talked about risk versus benefits. And I just want this town to benefit from this, and whatever it may be. And then the decommissioning, when they're gonna put up 180 something thousand for a $12 million project. I don't really see the math in that, but I don't know. I mean, I question the fact that at the end of 25 years, that bond at 300 and something thousand will be enough to decommission that project. And that's always been my concern from day one. I'd like to see the law have as much teeth as possible so this town is protected. And we don't have to worry about somebody from outside coming in and looking to push us around. Because I do feel that this is a project that is benefiting either Pivot or Seaboard or whatever solar company that is coming in. And I just wish the town saw more or reaped more out of each one of these projects. Final Jeopardy, now we hear that Pivot is coming back in. If there is any information that the board can give out on any of that, I'd appreciate it. So thank you for your time.
The only
I appreciate
thing,
it.
Stan, is the announcement that they're
Meeting.
doing an info session and and we've had nothing to do with that,
First I heard of it
nothing
today.
to do with it.
No, and again, I think you all know that anytime I stand up here, I've been involved with a number of committees for this town. I've been very active in this town. As a business in this town, I give back tenfold. We give back tenfold and are glad to do it because we absolutely love this place. And there's no place like it on earth. So thank you.
Thanks, Stan.
Doug Grenier.
How many more have we got?
Two more after that. So I'm trying to keep.
I know.
If everybody stays to 3 to 4 minutes, I think we're fine.
No. 6.
Hi, I'm Deborah Grenier. I'm at 2010 Cemetery Road, and these are not solar farms. They're not solar parks. Parks and farm are associated with the word. These are solar plants, industrial plants. And 6 months ago, what's changed in 6 months? Maybe we have more people on the board that will vote in favor of them. Renee, you voted for them last year. So did Ann Christmas. So we can make a difference if there's a couple seats up for a reelection this year. If we get people opposed to solar, we'll have a chance to, keep solar out of Pompey.
I'm sorry, but do not bring politics into the town board meeting, please. Do not do that. It is.
This is not.
Points, you voted.
This is not. This is not a campaign.
I'm not campaigning. You made a solar decision. You wanted solar last year, did you not? So did Ann Christmas. Both of you are running for office? That's all I'm gonna say.
And you know that for a fact.
Regan.
My name is Craig Regan. I live on-
Regan.
Right, CRAIG. Craig. My name is Craig Regan. I live on Log Road. I read the letter of acceptance from the Department of Agricultural Markets. And they made it sound like it's nothing but farmland up there and they're gonna put solar panels on farmland, but there's actually no farms on Frank Long Road and it's actually a residence and it's a neighborhood. And there hasn't been a farm there for 50 years. So my main concern is a lot of the houses in the neighborhood are close to the road, like ours, and the construction traffic will be overbearing during the 2 or 3 summers it takes to build it. And then there'll always be utility trucks coming to visit and tweak the switches or whatever. So I'm just concerned about the traffic. It will be overwhelming for people with houses that are real close to the road. We're about 50 feet from the road. And then one more thing.
Where are you on that road?
We're actually in the old Frank Long Road house and across from Whitney Farms.
Okay.
So. And I believe the traffic will probably use the upper half instead of the lower half to get to the work site because it's a lot straighter. And then the other thing is just want to mention that the bird habitat will be disturbed and if you live up there, you'll see a lot of things like Baltimore Orioles and cedar waxwings and finches, golden finches, swallows, and with all that disturbance, I think the birds will fly away and they may not come back. The habitat may be disrupted, and I hate to see that happen. Okay, thank you.
And Virginia Randick.
Could you pronounce?
Virginia
Brant.
Brandt Calderon.
Sorry.
Virginia Brandt Calderon.
Brandt.
Brandt. Yeah. I'm gonna change up a little bit. A lot of people talking from Frank Long and from that area. I live on Coleman Hill. So I live downstream from the project, if you want to look at it that way, because they talked about the water flows from east to west. So we live at the bottom of that hill. At the top, the buffer zone that will be between us and our land, there's a wetland there with two natural streams that come down from there. So that's a lot of my concern. A lot of what I have is already said by people here. Reading what the DEC said, the big thing I wanted to point out is that they say this is one of the largest forest blocks in the area. So we're taking out 30 acres of one of the largest forest blocks, and I think we all can understand what that means. Benefits and risk. One of my big things I was thinking about, how does this benefit us and how does it affect us? And those who live downstream would be naive to think that it wouldn't affect us. If they're taking out trees, if they're displacing soil, if they're moving water drainage is going to change. And so who is going to be responsible for that water drainage? And I see they have a huge study. And they believe that there will be no issues with water drainage. So that being said, I would like to propose, if you thought you wanted to go forward with this, to have them put that in writing, accountability. If there is adverse effects in the future, who is responsible? Is it going to be the town of Pompey? Is it going to be us, the property owner? Or is it going to be the company? And then how do we make them responsible? So if we have drainage issues, if we have flooding in our basements, which I have no flooding in my basement now, if I do in the future, if I have well water issues, what's my recourse in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 25 years? I mean, those are my main concerns, just to say it's not just the people of Frank Long, but it's those on Coleman Hill too that will be affected by this. I just want to say I oppose this, and I don't think we have enough knowledge of what's going on here. I don't know when these water studies were done and over what amount of time they were done, but obviously I think they do need to do more than one water study, because we all know certain times of the year we have major flooding coming downhill onto 91 and other areas, driveways being washed out and stuff like that. So I'm just here to say I don't really support this. I don't think we know enough about how it's going to affect both our environment and impact the families that are close to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to speak briefly to the drainage issue, there's been no decision on that whatsoever. I've been in that area when it is badly flooded, and I know what it does to that area. And I think Bill has been down there too. And in October of 2019 or 2021, we take very seriously the drainage issue, very seriously. So there is not, I know Ivan, but Ivan, you didn't sign up. So
2014, 6/15, 2017, 10/28,
Ivan,
10/28, 21, 10/30, 21.
See the public.
excuse me, there needs to be respect for
I would have signed up for that, but I didn't know you had 2 sheets. So I signed up at the door. I didn't know there was a sign up to be able to speak.
If you want to speak, put your name on the list and speak.
I didn't know there was a list to speak. Where was that? And I have a question.
It was announced. Ivan, argumentative. If you can't behave and not shout out, then you are not welcome here. You need,
I deserve to be here.
no, you said there's no process. This is the process.
First of all, we pay a lot of money in taxes, and I'm gonna be here for 25 years. Maybe some
I think
people
we need to-
move on, but I'm gonna be here.
That's enough.
Let him talk.
I was going to, but people keep shouting out. Really, this is a very difficult situation. We are all in this together, whether you believe it or not. It matters what all of you think. Mr. Margino, I just about had it with you. If you cannot behave, you can leave. There is a process here. We have a rules of procedure. If you don't know what they are, I suggest you read them. It is if you want to speak, you sign in, and then you may be heard. There is respect for the process. There is respect for the people that are speaking, and there's respect for this board, quite honestly. And you're showing disrespect. So, Ivan, if you want to speak, you may speak. Okay?
My name's Ivan Fuller. I live at 3915 Route 91. I live at the base of this Trickle Creek. Now, for years, there's been new construction, which has come in from both sides of Sevier and Frank Long Road. And as would be expected, new housing, they have drainage problems. They run the drainage to the creek, which is something I would have done myself. This has happened. The farmer has a problem with drainage. He runs it to the creek. So since 2014, like I said, we've had drainage floods that have washed out my driveway, my lower driveway, 4/3, 2014, 6/15, 2017, 10, 2018, twice in 2021, on October 28th and October 30th, which you were there to witness. That one was the worst of all. It had golf ball size rocks rolling down Route 91, water over the top of the guardrail. This continues to get worse and worse and worse. If they take out these trees, there's not going to be any retention ponds. They're not going to do any good at all. First of all, the picture that they show doesn't show any retention ponds. There's no, I don't know where they're going to put them because the picture that they're showing, the way they're doing it, unless they're going to cut down more trees to put them in, I see none there. But the situation is already bad enough. But my issue is I can't even get the state to fix the guardrail. I have 60 foot of guardrail that's held up with 1/16 or 1/9/16 bolt. And I've been fighting with the state for 5 years to fix it. The county knocked it down with the plow. We had a woman died in front of my house. They won't fix the guardrail. The reason it flooded, which you saw, was because of the grate they put there, because a large rock plugged the drainage pipe, the culvert, that they put into my front yard. Took them 3 days to take it out, so they put a grate there. The grate gets covered with sticks. Then all of these rocks, dump truck loads of rocks washed down the creek already. Covered up the grate, turned it into a ramp. And then it came over the road. This is going to get worse. It was within feet of the back of bumper of my truck, within 10 feet of my home. For the first time this year, it washed out the creek and literally went into my neighbor's yard, took out his driveway, George Heaney's driveway. That's the first time it's ever done that. So every time it floods, it's getting worse. People talk about climate change. I don't believe that. I believe climate changes. It always has been. But every time there's a record broke, it was broke from 1927. So it has nothing to do with that. A lot of it is because of the new construction, but this is going to make it 10 times worse. So on private property, I can't even get up there to find out what's going on. Did somebody dig in the creek? Is something going on? My friend Dave Knapp, who I talked to, who was at the House, our county legislature, who was going to help me, I guess lost a little bit of power. And now he's disappeared. He won't even return my phone calls. So I can't get the state to even suck out the creek, to clean the grate, or to do anything. So if they build this thing and I end up with more problems than I already have, who's going to help me? You told me, Renee, that the state has told me that they have done everything on 91 that they're supposed to do. I would like a list from the state of the things that they have done. Can we get that?
I don't know because I asked. I asked
Honestly,
for a
Renee,
meeting on your behalf.
There are underground culvert pipes from Old Coleman Hill to Taylor Road. In my lifetime, in 65 years, they have never been cleaned. The ditches haven't been cleaned. Yet every morning throughout the summer, I will watch the grade all drive up Route 91 to clean somebody else's ditches. I understand it's a county vehicle and it's driving on a state road. But we pay county, state, and town taxes, and we get no help. So please think about this solar panel for us that are going to get drowned in
Okay.
before I have to hire lawyers.
Okay, you need to sit down now because we're late. But thank you, Ivan. And I just want to finish my statement about the drainage, which is we are very concerned about it. The town engineer is on top of it. He is a stormwater expert. what he has to say will very much matter to us. And remains to be seen if they can mitigate.
Can I say one more thing? You're all welcome to come to my house, to look at the creek from my point of view,
I've been there.
because I know you have.
It's the worst.
But I mean, anybody that wants to see it, they want to go see the property where they're gonna do the solar panels.
Well,
But come to where I live and look at my end.
and I, by the way, am sharing the photographs I took.
I have some things there.
Well, give them to me because I'll share them with the engineer. I've been sharing.
Actually, something in there about pollution too that I think you should read.
All right, thank you. And the other thing is, and I'll end on this, is contrary to maybe some opinions. There is a process here and we are going to follow it. And it will end with a decision, okay? We'll see where it goes. And I've told Jane, I've told Jay, I don't know if I've told you, Nancy, but on various occasions, we have to follow the process. All the information will be available to all of you. We embrace you coming here. Really, we do. I want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. So don't think that this is.
We have a process and it worked. Why is Sweet Road coming back up? We went through that process.
You just don't get it, Barb.
Oh,
I would make a motion to adjourn to those executive session because that's where we're supposed to go.
we're going into.
The motion to go to executive session.
They don't get it. This is our